You always want to write good code that conforms to style guides and is functionally good. But there's another level of writing good code, and this is about writing code that can deal with dictionaries that is actually really fantastic. Here we are with a dictionary of strings, and as you can see, we can print it out to the console, and what we want to do is match these titles with the surnames. So one way of doing that is with this code here. So when I run it, I'm going to have an array of strings, which is going to be Mr. Lim, Mrs. Smith, and so on. The order doesn't matter because the dictionary here is of course naturally unordered. But what's happening here is we're going through the developers, and if there isn't a value, in the case of others, no person has others as other as their title, and whack it into the result, so that's the key. Whereas if it does have values, like there are two misses, then for each of those we append them to the result array. This is perfectly fine, but it's got the control statement continue here. It can be seen as a little, I don't know, verbose. So there's an alternative. We could use reduce, which is obviously a little bit shorter here. And what we're doing is we're going through the dictionary and reducing it into an array of strings. There's nothing particularly exciting going on here. If there isn't a value, just put the key into the result array. The result array is going to contain each of the values mapped, so that's each of the surnames, to have the key preceding it within the result array. And it produces the result perfectly fine. What I'd argue is reduce might not be the way to go here, because you're reducing a dictionary of an array of strings into an array of strings, and I'm not convinced that makes logical sense in the way that perhaps map does. So map here is taking each element in that dictionary. If the values are empty, you just put the key in, and here if you have values you map them, and again you're putting the value into the key into the array. Now we have to use flat map here, because if not, map will output an array of strings, and actually we want an array of strings. So flat map does that job. But since we're using map then flat map, we can just use flat map, and essentially we have the same code, but we split it into this guard statement and return statement, which then seems to me to be reasonably easy to read, reasonably easy to understand, and quite short. So we've taken a journey through different pieces of code and different ways we can do this altogether trivial function. If I click run, it's going to show that we have the same result for each one. And it's always good to know they come out in the same order, because although dictionaries are not naturally ordered, it does have some order, and the order doesn't change in between execution. Whereas if you ran this code, you might get a different order here, and that's perfectly fine. It's just the way dictionaries happen to work. So I'm not guaranteeing that that code is perfect. Nothing is guaranteed. What this has been about is about thinking about your code and thinking about how you can provide a solution which is easily maintainable and testable.